Anyone who threatens an ally must know the entire alliance will defend every inch of NATO territory. That was a message from German Chancellor Friedrich Merz in Vilnius today as he marked the launch of a permanent German brigade in Lithuania. The 4,800-strong unit is part of NATO's effort to strengthen its eastern flank in the face of Russian aggression.
A new era for the German military. That's how Chancellor Merz termed today's ceremonies in Vilnius. The Bundeswehr is building up a permanent brigade in Lithuania to help protect NATO's eastern members. At a parade on Cathedral Square in the capital, around 800 German soldiers were welcomed by Lithuania's president.
The stationing of the German 45th Armoured Brigade here in Lithuania is an invaluable contribution to the defense of NATO's entire eastern flank.
Never before have so many Bundeswehr troops been stationed abroad in one country. By 2027, there are to be 5,000 soldiers in Germany's Lithuania Brigade. Their headquarters will be built near the Belarusian border. Merz reminded them what their mission is.
We are taking the defense of NATO's eastern flank into our own hands. It is right here where we, Lithuanians and Germans together, show that we are ready to defend Europe's freedom against any aggressor.
The appearance of German troops in a place where Nazi forces committed atrocities less than a century ago shows how far Europe has changed, not least in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine.
This gathering is a sign of our solidarity and our friendship, for which I'm all the more grateful in view of the suffering that National Socialist Germany brought to this country.
Lithuanians have long known what it means to live as neighbours of a belligerent Russia. The hope is that the growing and increasingly prepared German military presence will help them feel safer.
Well, let's take a closer look at this with Olaf Böhnke, who's Germany director of Rasmussen Global. That's a geopolitical consultancy founded by former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen. Welcome to DW. Let's start with the basics. What will these German soldiers actually do in Lithuania?
They will be there, present there, and in this regard, their main objective is to deter Russia and Belarus from taking any military action against the territory of the European Union and NATO. But it's just actually to be there and to be present.
OK, so the minute they have to start doing something, then we know that things have gone terribly wrong. It's instructive to have a look at why NATO is so concerned about this bit of the alliance. If we look at a map of the Baltics, we see there's actually a part of Russia sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland. Just explain to us how Kaliningrad and the Suwalki Gap complicate NATO's defence of this region.
Exactly. So this is just a very tiny 65-kilometer broad territory between Poland, Lithuania, Belarus, and Kaliningrad. So in many scenarios, military scenarios and planning exercises. So this is one of the assumed weakest links of NATO territory, which would be easy for soldiers or green soldiers, as we had seen them in Crimea, actually to create an incident. And then, of course, as you said, so the question is then what will happen then? And this is the reason why now Germany stepped up to station the first brigade after World War II, the first time actually a permanent brigade outside of German territory. So this is a big step, but it's a very, very weak strategic link for NATO territory.
Okay. Let's focus on Germany then. Much is being made of the fact that this German battalion is going to Lithuania and will be the first permanent German foreign deployment since World War II. Talk us through what has changed in German military and social thinking to allow this to happen.
So Chancellor Merz is kind of continuing what Chancellor Scholz started with the Zeitenwende. So we have seen this huge shift in terms of the thinking of the political elite in Germany, but also by German people in general. That all of a sudden we're not any longer in a safe haven. So we have seen the war of Russia against Ukraine, but of course also the ongoing signals from Washington that the U.S. might withdraw from its commitment to protect European territory, but also and specifically Germany actually is something which pushed this very remarkable shift. So as we can see in the picture, so seeing German soldiers on foreign territory is very, very strange and unusual for a German audience. And then also, as we have seen in the video before, so seeing German helicopters, tanks, like in a parade, which we used to see in Russia, for instance, just a couple of days ago doing the victory parade, actually. Of course, the meaning here is completely the opposite. So it's really not to ensure, not to demonstrate actually that we celebrate any kind of victory. This is actually to deter a potential aggression against European territory.
Okay, so that's the background. Let's talk about Germany's army, the Bundeswehr. What sort of shape is Germany's Bundeswehr in? Because it's not that many years since they were a laughingstock after they took part in NATO manoeuvres using broomsticks painted black instead of real guns because they didn't have the equipment.
Yeah, and the situation has only partially improved because, of course, a lot of what have been on stock have been delivered meanwhile to Ukraine for good reasons, because many people had hoped that if we deliver the armory we have in Germany to the Ukrainians, they hopefully will deter the Russians themselves. This is not the case. So, of course, in consequence, we have seen that the new incoming government had agreed as the very first step to create a gigantic investment package. So we had seen the 100 billion special fund for military spending by Olaf Scholz government. And now we have another 500 billion for infrastructure and kind of an unlimited check for military spending. The question is, does this come in time, or maybe is this too late? So the Bundeswehr is in a very, very transformative period right now, because as we know, procurement of these kind of weapons, ammunition, everything, tanks, submarines, jets, helicopters, air defense takes months and years. So therefore, the Bundeswehr for the time being in the next month and years will be in a very, very transformative situation.
Okay, so we have Germany now not being afraid of itself, taking more of a proactive stance in European economic and military affairs. How else is this new German assertive attitude likely to manifest itself? Yeah,
this is, as I said, so in a way, actually, this day to day is full of symbolism. So we have a strong message by the new German government that the kind of side riding times where German government and German defense was in the hands of the US and we had this laid back attitude are over. So we are now trying to take responsibility. I think this is what Chancellor Merz wanted to send today, a sign of solidarity, but also kind of a sign of leadership. So Olaf Scholz had been criticized a lot, also by European allies, that he's moving too slow, too cautiously. Of course, many people are still awaiting the moment that the new Chancellor Merz will announce that he will deliver Taurus weapons to Ukraine. That moment has not come yet. But as I said, it's also a very strong signal towards Moscow this way of deterrence. And it's also a very strong signal towards President Trump ahead of the NATO summit in Den Haag in 2 weeks, that Germany is willing to spend a lot of money to take responsibility.
Thanks for talking us through that, Olaf. Olaf Böhnke from Rasmussen Global. Thank you so much. Well, DW's chief political editor, Michaela Kufner, travelled with Chancellor Merz to Lithuania and sent this assessment.
Here in Lithuania, there are public celebrations almost at this display of force of NATO. It's a historic day. Germany is making its first permanent commitment. The first time it is permanently stationing its own troops abroad, a whole brigade, a couple of hundred people for now, up to 5,000 in the near future. That marks a new level of commitment. That's something the newly elected Chancellor Friedrich Merz also highlighted here, that Germany would, along with its NATO allies, be committed to defending every inch of NATO territory. But of course, there are question marks, particularly following that phone call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin that found Trump no longer being one-on-one on the same page as its European allies, particularly over Ukraine. That raises questions also of capacity. And here, amongst the German government, there seems to be a sense that Germany wants to lead by example, making this commitment, but also hoping that other NATO partners will increase their defense spending. There's talk of 3.5%, potentially even 5% in the future, and that other partners may follow the German example of making permanent commitments amongst that eastern flank. Nobody has an illusion that this won't be a long off, that everybody will be in it in the long term, particularly with the continued uncertainty across the Atlantic.